All right, everybody, welcome back to almost a retrek review. Today, we're going to talk to Caleb about what he thinks about ending Star Trek the original series and beginning Star Trek the Next Generation. He has a unique view and experience of this since he hasn't seen anything, so I thought it was,
Apropos.
yeah, apropos
That's a great
to
word that
great,
people use too much.
yeah, to have him discuss what he thinks because I grew up on Next Generation, so I never had bad feelings about it. But many people, while this was actually happening in the 70s and the 80s, didn't like the change. So
Yeah.
here's a way to talk to somebody who, while not time traveling, can share with us his feelings.
I might as well be time traveling.
Sure. So that's today's episode. So let's get right into it.
I have a hunch that we'd all be a lot happier discussing this over dinner. What do you say?
You guys like Italian?
No.
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
no.
Yes.
No.
Yes. I love Italian. And so do you.
Yes.
So, Caleb, we are soon, in about 2 weeks, going to start Star Trek The Next Generation. And we're going to go episode to episode. And then we're going to get into the other 90s Star Trek shows down the line. But you've seen a lot of key episodes of the original series. You've seen a lot of key episodes of the animated series. And you've seen all six Star Trek movies.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you stand on this?
I feel bad, Will. Feel real bad.
They're real bad.
I don't know. It's a weird feeling. I wasn't like super excited to go start from the beginning and watch the original series because I like wasn't,
Yeah.
it's an old show. It's kind of cheesy. And I had started watching Enterprise, so my Star Trek was more of like the 2000 era Star Trek.
Yeah.
But I've become like really attached to the original crew to the point where like it really bums me out that I feel like I discovered it like super late and now most of the crew is gone.
Mhm.
Like knowing that like Leonard Nimoy like died a couple years ago has like been really like depressing for me because he's like so great and I never really understood why people loved Spock so much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he's great in Strange New Worlds too. I mean, he's a great character.
Oh, Ethan Peck.
Yeah, he's a great Spock and it's cool to have like a modern Spock and to appreciate like why he's great in modern times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. And the other thing too is that I always knew that there would be a time point in a Star Trek line where Roddenberry would be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know exactly where that fell until I watched Undiscovered Country. 'Cause that movie starts with like for Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah.
So I assumed that that's when he,
Yeah. He ended up passing away in the early 90s.
yeah. So that's a weird, kind of a weird time period. Like you were saying, like TNG was on TV and then
Yeah.
there was two original series movies in theaters. So I don't know. The thing is too is like yeah, that like it all kind of like bums me out, depresses me, and we'll get into it in our review, but like the end of Undiscovered Country was kind of like a high note, but also like kind of like a, you know, final send off for those guys.
Yes.
And yeah, it kind of made me sad, honestly. that kind of made me sad. Um, even in like the beginning of that movie where Spock is like, "This is my final
Hmm.
like mission aboard the Enterprise," and I was just
Yeah.
like, that sucks, you know.
Yeah.
But moving forward, I grew up with Next Generation on TV. Like my mom loved it, and you know, it's
Right.
hard not to like Picard and Worf and Data. You know,
Yeah.
like all those guys are like iconic to that show.
Yeah.
I don't remember like super well details of like episodes,
Sure.
but I remember the general, you know,
You get the premise, just like the other
format.
shows. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I am. I'm looking forward to meeting a new crew and a new ship. Yeah. This is the thing too for me is like this will always be the Enterprise, the original Enterprise. Even the motion pictures when they changed the bridge, I don't care about any of the bridges in any of the movies.
Gotcha.
I'm not a super fan.
Well, I
So
think,
we'll see.
yeah, I think like, you like the NX bridge, you like this
I
bridge
do like
in your
I do like
background.
yeah.
So I think it's just gonna be a thing where for that crew, that's the bridge. And that's kind
Hmm.
of how people are, is
Yeah.
it's like you may or may not like a bridge more than another bridge, but in general, you only associate, you know, these cast of people with this
You know,
bridge, basically.
I do like this, like the one behind you. I like the design of it. And I like the LCAR's computer system
Yeah, yeah.
design. So, but this is to me, like you're saying, like that crew, like Shatner belongs on this bridge
Right,
in my
exactly.
head.
Correct. Right. Yep.
And it's just got that like 50s like aesthetic that I really appreciate, you know.
Yep. Totally.
So yeah, I wasn't like super big on the Enterprise in the movies. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. They're okay. It's okay. Yeah.
The refit, like the design of it, I like the nacelles being more square
Yes.
and the shape of the ship is nice, but like the inside doesn't do anything for me. It's more, I don't know. It's interesting because it's more of it kind of goes back to like that Enterprise like submarine look where it's
Yeah.
just everything's real
There's a lot.
white and
Yeah.
it's
A
just
lot
funny that
less
they'd go
color.
back to that.
Yeah. It's a
And
thing
that's what's
where they
always been funny is like this
yeah.
is future
Yes.
compared to Enterprise, and it's like, and then they go back to being boring.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Yeah, I mean really the reality is as time went by, like the fact that colors were on television was not like a big deal anymore. It was like, yeah, we know
Oh,
this.
right. Yeah, that's why
So
they,
So it just everything gets toned down because it's like there's no point to have everybody like screaming red and blues and greens and yellows and stuff. It's like it's okay. We we get it.
I legitimately had never thought about that until you just said that. Like,
Yeah.
that's one of the big components of why the Enterprise Bridge was like that because like people for the first time in history had like colored televisions.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which is why their like uniforms are like so vibrant and like it's like, whoa, this guy's clothes is blue.
Huh.
And then as it goes on, it's like, yeah, he's in a beige or with like a red thing or it's black or whatever. It's like
That's
because you don't care.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I
I
mean, you
do
just
enjoy
look at
the
your background. There's
uniforms.
like 7, 8 different colors happening,
Oh,
and
that's
it's like,
crazy. Yeah, I'm interested to see if I enjoy the uniforms going forward. I kind of know what they look like, and I don't know.
well, I mean, obviously it's not a spoiler whatsoever, but they flipped the two colors. It's gonna be the first time actually for you they're gonna flip the colors because even in Enterprise they kept the same colors. Archer had yellow or gold on
Yeah,
his
right.
shoulders, but now starting in
Yeah,
this,
Picard has red, doesn't
Picard
he?
is red, and that
Yeah.
becomes command colors. Yeah, gold goes to engineering and
Mm.
operations and stuff, and red becomes command and like ops and stuff.
I know medic is still like a teal
Yeah,
bluish
yeah.
color. Yeah.
Science and medical are still like blue teals. Yep.
It's so funny. I wonder why they would flip that.
I pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure the reason they go with the red is because Rathacon introduces those high collar things and they're like red. The jacket part is like red, so they just kind of like play off of that.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, and in all the motion pictures, like their uniforms are red.
Yeah. So they're definitely playing off of that.
Yeah, because so in the movies for the first time, like they don't really have that color code either because I think like engineering is like a gold, like the collar is like gold
Yes,
or
possibly.
gray. I think Spock's is gray. It's like a dark
They're
gray.
yeah, their
It's
color
weird.
coding for their like movie uniforms are very strange. I don't super understand it because it's like this guy's yellow, this guy's like teal, this guy's like gray, this is white, this is like an off green. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
like what is that? I don't know. So there's people out there that get it. They understand it. Like the shoulder thing means something, and the wrist thing means something, like the white parts and stuff. And it's fine. I don't.
Yeah.
I never looked into it because
It's funny
they're
when you watch them all like consecutively back to back, like not waiting years and years before the movies
yeah,
to come out. It's
yeah,
very noticeable that like the uniforms change like every single movie.
they really do.
They gave Kirk in Final Frontier, they gave Kirk like this felt,
Yeah,
like suede thing.
yeah.
And then in Undiscovered Country, they're like, nah, just go back to the Admiral like jacket.
I think you, in a span of like 5 weeks, I think you covered like 12 years. Yeah. So 1979 to I think 1991, I think was Undiscovered Country. So
Wow, that's crazy.
it is. But
But yeah, a
here's
lot
the
of things change when you watch
yeah,
them
yeah. And that's
in
why
a row.
they age like significantly from that. But here's the good and bad news. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you when or how, but you only are going to technically say goodbye to Uhura. That was six was the last time you see her.
Cool.
So you'll get to see everybody one more time.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fun. Yeah.
It's
That's
not quite goodbye yet, just for Uhura.
well, Sulu's out there being captain somewhere,
Who's out there being captain?
which is cool. I enjoy that.
Yep. Yeah, they.
That's the so that the last movie, it just seems more of like just a like a love letter to the
Yeah,
fans,
it totally
finally.
is. It
Took
totally.
them 6 movies to do it, but yeah. And also that was my question too, like from the original series. Because like I know like Worf is like a key component and
Yeah,
he's in Starfleet technically.
yeah,
So I was like, how do we get to that?
yeah. And they totally go into it. They totally go into
Yeah.
it.
So that's cool. But seeing like where this movie leaves off is cool. I was like very surprised to see him in the movie too.
Yeah, he's playing like his grandfather or something.
Yeah.
I forget what he's supposed to be.
Yeah. Same name
Like,
though. At least subtitles said,
yeah, it's the same name. He's just like he's obviously like he's supposed to be like his great grandfather or something. I
they
don't
all
know.
have the same name.
Yeah.
Wolf, son of Wolf, son of Wolf.
Are you
Grandson.
son of Wolf or are you Wolf?
Pretty funny.
Yeah, it's an interesting ride, but I was just thinking like when we get, talk about six and now we go on to the first episode, it's like you have like this very unique standpoint where you've grown attached to the TOS stuff. You enjoy all the stuff. You enjoyed the original aesthetics from the 60s show, and
Mhm.
now we're gonna get into this other thing, and it's wildly different. It's not,
Completely different.
yeah, it's not. It's even more different than the motion picture because at least the motion picture had the crew and it was the original Enterprise just refit. Like there were certain elements that still carried through where this is like there's nothing but the name of the ship, and it's
Mm.
like the time period is different, the uniforms are different, the music is different, the crew is different, the technology is different. It's like it's a jump just like it was to go from Enterprise to the original series. It's another big jump. And I
Mm.
remember when we started like the cage and like where no man had gone before, you were not really like you were like cool, so I don't get to watch Archer and Trip and Malcolm and T'Pol anymore. I remember you weren't like super excited to get into the 60s
Yeah.
retro stuff. So
Yeah.
and that's
And I
why
don't
honestly,
care.
go ahead.
I don't care about ever watching The Cage like ever again.
Well, yeah, you've seen it one too many
I've seen it 3 times.
But the cool thing is, and I really look forward to doing this, and this will be way down the line, is like after we see each of the after we see each of the shows, and you can go back and be like, really, which one do you still, what's like your Star Trek? So, because for me, I can speak about it because we're partially Star Trek Enterprise is my favorite Star Trek, but Star Trek The Next Generation is like comfort Star Trek. It's like It's the Star Trek
Yeah.
I grew up as with a kid, so it
I feel
has like
like, yeah.
sentimentality to it. But
I feel like it's whatever one you started with,
yeah,
you know? So it's like I started with Enterprise was the first one that like, I watched a couple episodes before we started our RPG
yeah,
and it just grabbed me. So I just like before I knew it, I was on season 2
yeah.
and I was like really enjoying it. So like you're saying, I think that the first one that I watched like on my own, I think will always be my era.
Okay. Well, that will generally bring it to an end. But before we go, I wanted to show Caleb this fun fan-made video that I think kind of sums up how he feels in a funny, interesting way.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I found that video and I thought, man, that'd be really funny because here we are, got to go to Next Generation, but it's like the intro is put to the original series. So,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm interested to see the intro
yeah.
because I've seen a lot of intros. The motion pictures change the intro every movie too.
Yeah,
So
oh yeah. It's interesting. You'll see that like they keep some elements from the original series. There's certain aspects of it that they keep close to the original series, but it definitely has this like very like arousing kind of like
Mm,
thing where like you're in space, like it's giving this like journey kind of feeling. But
yeah,
other than that, it's pretty similar towards like the middle end of the intro. It's pretty similar.
yeah. It's really crazy to me to think that like so now Next Generation is legitimately like the second Star
Trek.
show to ever exist. Because for me, it's like the fourth Star Trek show that I've seen now.
Yeah.
But it was like,
This
you
is
know,
it. Yeah.
this is like the second one.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah. Because
That's
like
cool.
I think in the line of it, like Enterprise is the fifth series. So yeah.
It seems to me that's kind of like why like well, I mean Strange New Worlds is great even if you're not a fan of the original series. I feel like that's why it does so well because it kind of goes back to that era.
Definitely. It has a nice feel to it where it's still, and it makes it feel Star Trek like right off the bat, just with like
Yeah.
uniforms and stuff, right? Yeah. And the other thing, the
Yeah.
great thing about it in that time period is like, there's more to explore. It's harder to like start a TV show right now in like this 80s, 90s era
Mm.
of Star Trek because like a lot of stuff is covered because all of the shows kind of, they're expansive and they were very popular. So,
Yeah, the Klingons and Romulans like aren't enemies anymore. So like what do you
yeah.
do we get into more like Romulan stuff? Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to say that in the next stretch, for species that you already know, we get a ton more Klingon and Romulan content.
Okay. I figured that, but
We pretty
because of
much
how
don't get like any Vulcan content.
interesting. That's an interesting
Yeah,
choice.
they kind of just drop. Well, I mean, as you said, because Worf is in the main cast, that's where they dip into all that stuff because just like Spock, it's like anytime something interesting would happen, they'd be like, well, Spock, and then they would have him explore his background or his like upbringing or something. And it's gonna be the same with Worf. Anytime something happens, they're like, well, they do this interesting thing with Worf, and then you get into Klingon heritage and all that stuff.
So Worf is basically like the new cool alien on board.
He shares it with Data.
Cybernetic.
Yeah. They're the two like strange guys on the bridge.
Data is more of your like actual like what McCoy always assumed Spock was.
Yes.
So that takes the place of Spock. Well, so that's interesting. Yeah, because I just always remember hearing about like the Romulans being bad, and like Enterprise does that episode where it's like all the Romulans.
Oh.
And then like in TOS, it's like, no, they're not really a thing. And then in the movies, they're like, hey, so like we're all friends now. We all have this like peace treaty. And it's like, okay.
But not with the Romulans.
Well, the Romulans are there. The Romulans are on that like
But are they?
third party.
Are they?
No, because that lady in Final Frontier didn't have giant eyebrows.
Yeah,
She had normal eyebrows.
I look forward to talking about it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So in about 2 weeks, we'll start Star Trek The Next Generation. You'll see our episode talking about Encounter at Farpoint in just a couple weeks. But to hold you over, you can go over to Caleb's channel. And today, you can go and watch Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. And next week, you can watch Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. They're all on Caleb's channel. And if somehow you didn't see any of the posts saying that to go over there and watch it, even the other 4 movies are over there too. So you can go and watch all of us talk about the Star Trek movies over there. Make sure you do. And yeah, stay tuned for us to move forward. All right, folks. Until next time.
Make it so.
Make it so.
William Shatner stars as Captain Kirk, and Leonard Nimoy as Science Officer Spock on Star Trek in color.